Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I'd like to share with you this week a very interesting vort that I heard from Rav Lau, the former chief rabbi of Israel and of Tel Aviv, who was speaking at a chazanut concert, a cantorial concert, at which my father, many of you may know that my father is a world-renowned cantor, Chazan Shimon Farkash. He was about to sing a piece of chazanut called Akavyo ben Mahalal el Omer. It's a ethics of the fathers, which says this person, Akavyo ben Mahalal, said that you have to look at three things. Histakel bishloisha devorim, and if you look at these three things, ve'ein atoboli de aveira, that these things will prevent you from sinning. You have to know me'ayin bosa, where you came from, and where you're going to, and who eventually you're going to stand before the King of Kings to give an accounting of your whole life. And it's a beautiful, powerful piece of chazanut. And Rav Lau said before, as the introduction to this, he said, we are instructed to look at three things. Histakel, look at three things. And he then made reference to the three times in the Torah where the word ureisem, and you shall see, appears only three times. It appears one time in this week's Parsha of Parshas Shemos, which is the first book in the book of Exodus, where it talks about the midwives who used to give birth to the children. The Pharaoh in Egypt said, you have to kill all the firstborn. You have to look at the birth stool where the baby is born. And if it's a boy, you have to kill it. If it's a girl, she can live. It says in Hebrew, ureisen ala ovnoim. You have to look at this birth. That's the first time where the word ureisem appears. Another time is when it talks about the spies, the meraglim, when they wanted to go and look to explore the land of Israel. It says, ureisem es haaretz. You should look at the land. You check it out to see if it's suitable for the children of Israel to live in. And the final time that it says ureisem in the Shema Yisrael, ureisem oisoi. It's talking about there that you should see the tzitzis uschartem es kol mitzvos Hashem. You'll remember all of the commandments of Hashem. So three times in the Torah where it talks about the word to look, just in parallel with the three times in the piece of in Akavyo ben Mahalal el Omer, histakel bishloisha devarim, look at three things. So if we look at these three times, one is the birth stool. We have to look at the birth stool, which this relates to da me'ayin boso, know where you came from the birth stool, where everyone was born. Ule'on ata hoylech, and where are you going to? So eventually, we're all going to the land. We all get buried in the earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But in the context of where we are all going to as Jews living around the world, we know that in the times of the Messiah, we will all be ingathered from the exile and come to the land of Israel. Ureisem es haaretz. You should see the land, which is the land that the spies had to go and check out before the children of Israel came into the land of Israel. That's the second parallel. And the third parallel, ureisem oisai, you should see him. This is the parallel to velifnei mi ata osid litein din v'cheshbon, who you ultimately shall come before to give an accounting of your life, lifnei melech malchei amlochem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before the King of Kings. So I want to wish everybody a good Shabbos. We should all histakel ureisem. We should look and be introspective, look at ourselves and think about these things as we enter the Holy Shabbos of Parshas Shemos.